Okay, we're recording. All right. So Friday pre-market, we talked about getting out, taking advantage of the recent wave move that SPY had, and the fact that it was coming right up underneath, testing all-time highs, and that's a good place to. It's kind of a dead zone that I just personally don't like to expose capital. I'd rather let it blow and get in it again, having taken all of the gains on this wave right through here. So, sometimes you get lucky, but it was purposeful. It's one of the few times that we've gotten out when I'm sent an alert message just saying I'm taking everything off here, going very deep cuts even on my longer term calls, down to 75-80%. And then the news hit, right? So the press conference, and it wasn't so much a surprise. I think it was more like this is really happening, reaction. We knew the tariffs were to be begun. And so at any rate, the sell-off began there and kind of confirmed our bias. We took a few put trades. I wish I had held Tesla overnight, obviously. We took a 390 Tesla put trade at 314, but it jumped above 725, and I was like, I'm just going to take the cash. If I'm going flat this weekend, let's just go flat. So just took the money on that. I mean, it was a nice 100% plus quick gainer. And then we wait. So, you know what? I forgot. My apologies. Manuel, can you do me Model T from here to here, please? On SPY, no pre-market on, obviously. Just what from low to high divided by 2. That's Model T for the video. Those that have not watched the video, it's the 50 fib. But most people don't look at a 50 fib on a major range. They look at it on intraday, which is very effective. But for us, the 50 fib it's our lifeblood. We do most everything around 50 fib. 593.07. Thank you, sir. He's got the fastest calculator in the South, maybe in the North. 593.07 is your Model T wave from low to high. Being below that to me is bearish, right? That's just an easy way to look at it. Pop through that, then you got to give some time to see. There's really no rush to trade today unless you bottom fished earlier and you're going to come into the day. Maybe watch it for a couple of minutes through the imbalance period, which is from 8:30 to 9:15. That's when all of the weekend trades are being applied by the brokerage houses, and so that lasts through 9:15, and that's why you see us a lot of times. We'll be drawing triangles on the screen that are forming in that interim period, and it's amazing how many times those come to a point right before 9:15, and then we trade and we watch the breaks. And you'll hear things like first move, wrong move, because a lot of times the market makers will break it the wrong direction first to get people almost like leaning over their skis, and then they'll flip it and it takes off the opposite way. So first move, wrong move is something that you'll see very often as well. But Model T is I always call it, heaven's gift to the professional trader. It's amazing how many times you will see the 50 fib on an intraday burst move. It comes back down to the 50 fib to retest before making a move or not. So we'll watch that very closely on the macro as well. And so above 593.07, that probably, in fact, I'm going to say not probably, but definitely puts us above the ES. Hang on, let me get that. By the way, I have TradingView, but I am a clean screen trader, meaning I don't like all that garbage. I like to see what I can see because I can see everything. I don't need trading view. Okay. Above that, this is where this will be above here as well. Okay. So you get SPY above Model T, this will be above Model T. And that's very important because when we turn on the overnight, you can see that's exactly from here to here, without the pre-market turned on, divided by 2 is here. Okay, it's actually 59.34.62, but I couldn't get it to give me exact there. So it's right there. So now let's go back in and let's look. So what you watch for on these Model Ts is when it flashes above it. So right here, it flashed to 59.88.75. You watch for a complete a failure back down underneath that, and then you're looking for the reclaim that continues on some time scale, depending on right now. After all of this, I would at least be watching 15-minute time frames instead of 5. If it really gets running and you go, obviously that's not coming right back down below, well, then you could do something before 15. But I generally am, after a big drop, I'm looking for a 15-minute close above this Model T zone to start seeing some just build start on the market. So whether it races or not is irrelevant. Love it when it races, but irrelevant. Here's you an example of something that you would watch. I imagine if you figured what is the from here to here divided by 2, I'm going to bet a month's free that it's somewhere right here where the market tried to hold a Model T, a 50 fib. That is, some of the algorithms run the 50 fib from the big traders. They try to hold this level, okay? And so it bounces up through that as a flash and then collapses back. That's a short form example of a Model T move right here, okay? So this happens all the time. Algorithms, everything is run by the machines anymore, okay? So if you understand that and just accept that, and as I say, become Neo, where I can look through the machine and the data, that's how we like to trade. Okay, so when I start then looking at individual stocks, I look at CRM. I have a 50 fib wave from this move down to here, and then I have a 50 fib wave from here to here. So those are two different markers, right? And then there's also going to be one from here to here. I have not figured that one out. If someone wants to, I'll add it to the screen. 312 low. I got to turn off the no pre-market data on this. So 313.80 low to 367.09. In fact, I think that might be it right there. I think I did figure this out. I think this might be the 50 fib. So if someone figures that out and correct me if I'm wrong on that. But otherwise, this is the 50 fib. Okay, so we understand that now, right? What's the next step that I do on that with that knowledge? And I haven't really talked, thank you, 340.45. Okay, I got it, 340.44.5, I think is what it was. So round up, round down. So there it is, okay? So what's the next thing I'm going to do, right? Well, the first thing is if I reclaim that 340.45, I'll give you that, then I like this, from a recovery, recapture, reclaiming, back up through, okay? And then we have a gap that we can look at. But what you're doing first is you're saying, where is this resting? You start looking backwards and you say, is there anything significant about this 340.45 that they would have used this range move in their calculation to where they knew where they were going to bring this back? Because they do know, okay? When they are done with their move, they know where they're going to bring it back. So what I'm looking for is I start looking backwards and I say, is there anything here that gives me a structural support or resistance that was broken that would give me a reason to be looking at that level even more decisively? And you could see there's a little bit of a, not as much, okay? There was some resistance here, but I don't see a whole lot on this right now, other than it's pretty close to, you know, where this launched up through, and then it came back on Friday after it had made that move, and then continuation open. Okay, this is what we were talking about selling Friday morning, right? And I said if it's up $5 plus from the close, I was going to take it, right? And it was, so I did, right? And so then it comes all the way back down, and it rests here at the Model T towards the close of the day. So that's significant, right? It kind of rested where you would, you know, it was almost like we hope that the markets go up Monday, right? Because then this would hold and you would be bouncing. Nope, not to be the case. So it fell through and it drops on down. Are you, let's see. There's no pinned message to join the video chat. It's right under the discussion tab. Here, let me do it this way. I think I can do it this way. Add. No, I can't. I thought I could invite to video chat. Yeah. And I'm recording it as well, so that'll be good. Okay, so this is what we're watching then, and then of course we start watching support levels downward, and we take into account any support levels that come in contact with our EMAs. I use EMAs, not moving averages. I find them much more accurate. So what we're watching for is for there's your 800, by the way, coming in. I'll mention that in a second. We're watching for this, if things go south, we're watching the CRM to come close to this 3. That's probably around 331. I always like to draw a dividing line between breakouts. Okay. So you see hang on, I'll get it in a sec. There we go. You see this breakout move from resistance, you know, looks like 3-4 attempts. Boom, didn't get it. That one was resistance, not quite into resistance. Broke through, came back down, broke through, held, and then all of a sudden off you go. This line of demarcation, I would call it, is pretty close in line with the 50 fib, which means if this is just a correction, then that's an area that you would want to be watching, right? That 330 area, flash below the 50 fib, reclaim would be an area of trade opportunity to take a look at. If this turns into something more than just an overreaction type of a move, then that's going to maybe retest. In other words, it'll drop below it, it'll come above it, and then it'll drop below it, and then you continue on down. Thank you, Manuel. Very good. Yeah, hang on. Let me tell him. Tab. There we go. All right, let's keep going. And so what are you doing right now? You're making your thoughts on this. And by the way, let me back all the way out. Let's talk macro here. You saw some very good traders, 78 overnight. I think we're going to open green, right? That has happened more times than not. But what are the questions that we're asking ourselves? Okay. the first question that you ask is this to clear traders out? Are these overnight moves clearing traders out, weak hands that don't know how to read a chart? Or are they clearing out, are they after the fund holders? What is the macro view that we are going to be watching for here? So generally, you get a big move up, right? That's all. Recently, in the last almost 60 days, anytime the futures went down 50, 60, there was a couple of times they did that. By open, they were back up, okay? They were within like 15, 12, and next thing you know, we're green. When they leave them negative into the open, the first thing you should ask yourself, or you should recognize, is are they targeting more than the retail trader? Okay. The retail swing traders, the retail, day traders even, who are they targeting? And so when I see futures holding down negative this late in the cycle, it's at that last 30 minutes before the open. When I don't see a major push up, then my mind is immediately thinking, be careful, because you're not going to have people that are going, that can't trade, for example. There's a lot of retail traders that can't trade pre-market, unbelievably, to me, in 2025. But there are. If you're one of them, shame on you. Go get IBKR, sign up for the overnight or I don't care who it is, but you have to have overnight trading. Okay. If you really want to make big money, you have to have overnight trading. So imagine, I have Kava long, right? Net free plus 1,000%. It's just ridiculous. ROI on that was last year, a big holding, right? So I have puts on Kava already. But Kava dropped down over $20, and then it was only down 3 something. If I didn't own any Kava, that would have been one of the 4 that I bought. And then it made if I had known it was going to come all the way that far back, I would have bought it too. It made like a $15 move in the overnight session back up. So you got to have overnight, because there will be a time when futures are going to be really nasty down, and this happened few times last year when I'm going into the market with cash. I'm putting a percentage of cash back into the market here. And that's how we caught Meta under, I think it was 300. It was 299. It was ridiculous. But by the time it opened, it was like 350. So you've got to have overnight trading if you're serious about this. Okay. All right. So I'm continuing on. So I am cautious right now with this open because of how it's opening, okay? And what they'll likely do is make it where it's hard to read, because if they push it at the open and flash above that Model T, it's going to be difficult, because that would be maybe some short covering going on that's happening. And then they all of a sudden come smash down on it. Wow, there goes Apple's below 229.79 now. I was going to go to it next. So Apple, they used the big earnings to create a sell-off on that. That was Model T that just went off on Apple from here to here. It's now gone off. Okay. So you had this wedge down. This is a big trade that we did. And guys, don't worry about today. There will be opportunities all the time coming. Okay. But these wedges, I like trading wedges. Okay. So there's 2 times, really 3 times to make trades. Major support. Okay. You could do. And I think we even actually started before the wedge break on Apple, and we were like, is it going to go or not? So some angst in that. But when it broke, you could either add or take another position. I generally I'll have 2 or 3 strikes and dates out on my trading. But what am I watching for? Well, the first thing I'm watching for is from here to here, Model T. We got right up to it, okay, on this day. Do you think that I trimmed? Would you trim? you have a gap completion with an overrun, would you trim? If you don't, you're crazy, right? Take money off. It pulls back in. Now you're just in a watch mode, no big deal. And then it continued on up into the earnings. So, but Model T on these short waves, okay, this short wave here went anytime it's turned, okay, drop a turn and then down. That creates a Model T situation algorithmically, okay. You broke above it. All this resistance right through here on not until earnings, okay. So no trade opportunity. You went into earnings saying faith or take the money. And that's the statement I made. I said, you going to take the profit or are you going to risk it, right? So what you do is you get down to a level that you're worth risking on and maybe take a higher strike just in case. And then you go ahead and bank your money. So, cause a lot of these were in the money, and I'm not going to risk in the money into earnings. I'll just take another strike up. Higher. So the Apple right now, now you're back above Model T. So it flashed down below. Let's take a look and see if there's volume. I'll get back to the 3 trades I didn't forget. Okay. So we see in the overnight, a lot of volume. Coming in here, rejecting the big seller. That when it failed, I like seeing the failures. Those are key areas that you want to watch to see if the bulls were serious about protecting that zone. So watch that zone very close. You're bapping back and forth. It dropped below Model T. And do you see an immediate recovery? No. Do you see a whole bunch of, no. So right now, I don't see anything about Apple that would make me go, oh, I think I want to be buying Apple, right? So that's how you watch, but let's get back. There's 3 times that you buy major support. Okay. So this is a major support all the way back. Look at this, all the way back. Major, once it broke through, it tested that. It tested it, it came down, tested it again, and then it breaks through. Made a run, came back, retested it. This is the period that we had that, I can't remember the issue that happened. I think it was the carry trade, dropped it all the way back down to here. And then it broke back above, retested in, and then made a trend move. Here it is again, retesting in. So obviously major support zone down in these range. Oh, we're right here. I'm sorry. We're looking at this area right here. Sorry about that. Oh, no. I'm correct. 3 times to make a buy, right? So this area, major support, and this is a key one, by the way. You don't want to see this lost or else the markets are tanking, okay? The markets are going somewhere unforeseen right now, and I guess foreseen would be what's Model T from here to here potential. And then factor in the 800 EMA. Yee, that would scare some people to death. But anyway, here, second place, wedge break. Okay. So I want to see this wedge break and take a trade there. And then the third time would be here when it's come back up and you didn't really get this trade on this stock because of earnings, right? But when you have resistance points here, then you're waiting and you're seeing you did get a little bit of a trade. So breaking through this level right there. Okay, you did get a trade on this. And in fact, it opened here, it dropped down to here to shake people, and then it came back up through there. And that would have been one that I would have said, if you didn't already have it, take the trade, short form trade, take the weekly and just make the money. And that way now you have a cheap weekly. It's expensive because of earnings, but cheaper than usual because it is on a day before the earnings, or that is earnings day. No, that's the day before. No, that is earnings day. So yeah, you would have had the earnings day push that moved all the way up here and then came back and closed down here. Okay. So that's the 3 times that I personally look to trade. Breakout moves, wedges, and major support. Keep it simple. You don't have to overcomplicate. SPY just dropped down. Futures just dropped down. MDB, Model T of, I believe it's this wave here to here is 258.11. That is a pretty deep drop, okay, from where we just were. And we traded this four times. From starting back here, we made our initial trade actually right here on the wedge break. We made our initial trade. People were like, should we buy again? I was like, let's let it sit. It did pause at Model T, okay, and it almost got us. We almost went back in. But I was like, no, let's hang on. I didn't like some of the volume signatures there. And then it gave us a drop, and then we got back in for another trade. So let's just be patient today, okay? And here's how you trade in terms of, let's say that in the overnight, I bought Snow. Let's go to it next. Snow Model T, 170.75, okay? That's your Model T from here to here, 170.75. It's moved all the way back up from where I got in last night up here. So I'm going to be up like $5-6 on this. Now, here's the thing. Hope is not a strategy. I am not going to sit back and hope that the markets do come back and that this little move by SPY or the futures was a last minute before the open shakeout move. Okay, let me show you what I mean. You dip it below. So anyone that was like, as long as we hold this level, I'm going to stay with the trade. Get rid of those clowns. And then I'm sorry, I'm not very peaceful to people that don't understand markets, but now it's pushing it, right? So let me get rid of them, and now let's make our big push. That's what I thought was going to happen, and that is what's happening. But hope is not a strategy. So what am I going to do with like Snow bought when I'm up there? Well, if the futures push above Model T, and let's just watch it, because this is really the best part of trading. Where is that? Why isn't it on the screen? Oh, it's way up there. So it's way up here, okay? So far, nothing. In fact, it's kind of creating a little bit of a triangle here. It's amazing how many times when you draw this line, it's like, how do you know that's just not going to just shoot right up through? Well, let's just watch the algorithm and let's see. Once it gets to the 50 fib, does it really matter? You just did a 50 fib triangle here move. So I want people to understand movement in market, right? So this could be, again, anyone that was lucky enough to get it, we'll find out. Are they shaking them, or was this a trap move? So anything could be happening, and that's why short form you got to be very careful of, and you would want this to now get above the 50 fib, and then I would be willing to dip a toe in the water with something. But what I'm going to be doing at the open is I'm going to take this Snow, okay, position that was bought in the overnight down low, and I'm going to take a covered call on a portion of this, and I'm going to then use the covered call premium to buy puts. So that is just it's my favorite go-to strategy, okay? So that it makes it impossible to lose money. And so what I'm going to do is I come out here and I say, okay, now that I've got, and I've already have Snow shares. These were just extra. I just don't want to risk any loss on them. So I'm going to come out to like February 21st, and I'm going to look at like a 180 covered call. Okay, a 180 covered call that closed at 798 is probably going to open somewhere around, based on this. You're not that far away, so it's probably going to open at like 750 or so. I'm going to sell a 750 covered call. What that does is it gives me an out. If it's above 180, come February 21st, I make 187.50 per share. Okay, 187.50 versus my buy-in. But my goal is to protect through the short term. I want to make sure that the sky doesn't fall. So I'm going to come down in here, and I'm going to take a 167.50 put that closed Friday at 56 cents. Okay, it's going to be probably 90 cents or so, probably a premium because of the downward thrust, probably around $1. If that's the case, I would come to the 170. I'd rather pay $1.50. These were 87 cents. I'd rather get close to my actual buy price. And that way I've got protection if it dropped through into oblivion. Okay. Doesn't matter how low it goes. I own the right to sell it at 170. And by the way, if it did drop all the way down and keep going past 170, that $8, $7.50 in premium for the February 21st would go to $1 or whatever, and you either just buy it back or you pay attention to what's going on in the chart and you just absorb, and you've actually made money on a trade that would be a losing trade to most people. Okay, that's how you trade. Okay, so it's a I'll get into that strategy a lot more as we go. But if you want to take any trades today, I mean, I like this liquidity grab on snow. It had been breaking out, made this tricksy move here this day with a big drop down all the way back up through with an outside bar, makes it real easy. And then it was about to explode when the tariffs hit. And so it's one of my favorite setups right now. So you've got different areas that it could rest at. But I would watch it, and I also would buy a put at the open on this one because it has moved so hard. If the markets do go back down, snow is going to come back down. It's not going to fight the market. Okay, it will not. And so now you have a bunch of new buyers that are going to be, if they don't know how to do strategies, they're going to be, it won't take much to get them out, and that starts momentum down. So, really, I usually come into this morning with setups. I have no setups this morning. Everything fell below our technicals. If you look at any of the ones I had given HD, you're watching for this area or the wedge break. We had the technical on the 30 minutes. I use 30-minute wedge for the wedges because it, just like you can see here, it gets it much more refined. And then you can see where the resistance was, where's the fair value gaps in the short run, and where would I want to take a trade that's above the wedge. Okay, well, then we had the downside that it's puts below there. Well, are you really going to step out versus, hey, it just broke down, I'm going to take a put, and now you get an $8 move? Are you seriously going to take a put on HD now that they've taken away your trade? No. What do? You sit on your hands and you just wait, unless you're a bottom fisher. If you're a bottom fisher and you want to risk a percent, then bottom fish. I bottom fish overnight is when I like to bottom fish. But you can bottom fish, and then you can use options to make it cheaper on yourself. So you could say, I think this is overblown. I think they're just going to mess around trying to scare people for the first hour or maybe even half day. And then I think these things are going to go up. Well, otherwise, the first thing you do is you watch for reclaims. Reclaims are the other time that there is a fourth time that you buy. And that is when you get a failure below a support level and then it reclaims. So if you see 411, after this type of a move down on HD, I buy it. Okay, forget the wedge down. Forget the wedge. I buy the reclaim. Okay, when it's that deep. But you also have the pre-market high, 405.94, right? So 405.94 is going to be a gap trade. Wherever this opens, it'll be below 405.94. But you need to be aware that this is where sellers in the pre-overnight were holding their water, right? They wanted to keep it down below there. So be careful if you bottom fish that you trim at 405.94 because you don't know. But wherever it opens, that's going to be a big gap for our use in the future if the markets do trail on down. Okay. So I don't know what Model T is of this to here. If someone wants to figure that, I'll put it on the chart. I think we've already hit it. In fact, yeah, we've already hit it. You've got a gap down here. Okay, so we've got a gap at, give me that gap, come on, 395.86. You'll find that when a gap gets filled, whether it's up or down, if it's a downside gap, what was the number? I forgot. I already forgot my own number. 86, 395.86. You'll find that when a gap fills, like to the downside, it could overrun some, but generally when you get a gap fill, it'll bounce. You'll get a bounce move. Same on the upside. When this gap, if it were to come back up, you can get a temporary drop back down. So I'm not saying take a trade at 411. I'm saying watch that reclaim, put a clock on it, okay? Make sure it'll probably come back down, bounce off of it, and then you're going to wait and see if it comes back up through. This is so tight, you might just go with the trigger trade that I gave in the over weekend, okay? So, but I have no real setups for this morning, okay? So we're going to have to just sit back and we're going to have to wait. Now, if this is going to be serious, meaning that it's really going to drop down, money flows into safety, and it'll flow into the blue bloods. I call the blue bloods your Johnson & Johnsons, Smucker's type trade. I think Smucker's reported, so I think they're up. One of the few greens on the screen that you're going to find this morning. I don't know if you want to fight that battle. Yeah, it's up over $3 right now. So this is one that when we had talked about a trade, I said I'd watch this level for it to get to 110.62. So it's almost going to get there probably today. Tell him, okay, well, Jeff going to have to get to him. I don't have time to add him in, but anyway, so guys, the first 90 minutes and the last hour are the prime times for making your short form trades. Longer form, you can enter anytime that you see technicals, right? You can make a longer term entry. I know Thompson Friday made a very good call out here on Apple. The Model T of Apple, it came within like 4 cents of it. I know why you did that trade now. So Thompson was watching his levels and he saw it from here to here and he took this trade and then it shot all the way back up here to give a nice trim. So, and I only trimmed it, by the way. I should have taken all the money. I violated my own, I'm going flat this weekend. So I'm going to lose on that little, I didn't have much left, but I'm going to lose on that. Shouldn't have violated my own thought process on the market. Anyway, markets are going to open in 7. What we do here all day long when I'm around, which is, as you can ask people, which is more than they probably like. In fact, you'll see jokes. I'm saying I'll be back later, and then 5 minutes later, I'm back in showing them something. Okay, I'm not apologizing for that. That or my typing. I'm not apologizing for that either. But during the day, in between that post imbalance move, that first move after imbalance, especially where you can potentially see, is this going to be a trend day? Is it going to be a chop day? Is it going to be, a pause and then a breakout type day? We don't know. So a chop day that turns into something, which happened last week, right? We were chopped. And I was convinced even that this is just going to be a chop day, and all of a sudden it activated. We broke a level, and it was like, hey, we can buy, right? And so I'm in generally all the time, and there's your Model T again on Apple as we get close to the open. ARM just violated 152.63. As the markets go down right now, we just hit a new low. On the trend of the post overnight trend, we just hit a new low. So what do you do on days like this? Well, you don't do a whole lot right now. In fact, what I'm going to be doing is going and giving blood. I've got a blood test that I need to give. I don't see any reason. I think I'd be better if I'm back earlier than later. I was going to wait till 10. if the markets gave opportunities, and then go do it. But I think I'm going to go do that right now, so that you guys can watch the open, and I'll stay through the open and just see what's what. But I'm going to, and I've got to get some puts and covered calls into place on those overnights, ARM especially, because it's dropping back down. But then I'll be right back after that, so it's not that far away. I'm a doctor there, but had this on the schedule for quite a while. All right. I hope you learned something this morning to start off, but not a conventional morning. This morning, obviously, with the news and the action. So we'll have to wait and see if it's an overreaction, or watch that Model T level, obviously, very closely. That's the screen I typically leave it on, is either SPY or the SPX or the futures. So watch that level, 593.07 on this, and on the futures, 59.87.62. Okay, not 71, but 62, and that correlates right in with Model T, which I love. Okay, I love the fact that that's where the market's found resistance. Okay, exactly on the full range Model T, from, if you're late, from here to here, 50 fib, which I call Model T. Why? Because from here to here, sideways T. That's how I trained it. Okay, it's a sideways T is what it forms. Okay, and that way it gives you an extra one in your mind versus just the intraday 50 fib that people are always talking about. So anyway, there it is. That's the level that you want to be watching. I think I'll leave it on the futures after the open. What do we watch for? We watch for which stocks have volume support come in. Okay, so you're going to be watching for volume signatures. You can see as the futures are falling, the volume came in here. So it's going to find a bounce zone right through here. Okay, it's outside the triangle. So in my mind, generally it's during the open session, but I have to be thinking first move, wrong move potential, where they broke it out of the wedge down and then they shoot it up and it starts a big move, in which case I want to be here because there's going to be some trade opportunities. So we're just going to have to watch here for, oh, I just killed it. Dummy. Well, I can get it exact now because I'll do an alert there. Oh. Close enough for government work. Okay. Also, you'll hear us talk about the 800 fib. This is the Cillian line. This is the 800. And it's just another read that sometimes the algorithms used. I figured that out about 5 years ago. And you'll see it being used. And you see how this resistance. Now, when AI gets into full bore, guys, I'm not sure which of these are going to, I'm always constantly adjusting because I do a lot of data analysis, and at some point AI is going to erase the short form EMAs are going to be irrelevant. They're going to, oh, there goes a big move in everything. So again, if you want to bottom fish, these are ARM reports this week, so I would expect ARM to be a mover to the upside. There goes HD above the pre-market low, so the gap is going to be smaller. There's ARM coming back up. So that's HD opening, and now the markets are open. Oh, I love seeing a perfectly green portfolio after seeing something this bad. That's RDNT coming below Model T. I like RDNT. I may buy some of those shares back. am, in fact, trying to. I'm sitting right here. I missed the pre-market open low. I was just trying to get back in. And the reason I like this is the structure on it. You could see this volume crescendo that occurred at a support level. So it made us a nice move. We talked all day. There was a gap here. I got to turn this off for you to see it. I said it at least 5 times that if you're going to take some money off, take your money off. You can't trade options very easy on this. We're right next to, we're about to break above Model T, guys. How about that? There it goes. Let me check ES. I may have to chase this one. Dadgummit. Should have been sitting at Model T. Would have gotten the fill right at Model T. All right, let me go to the futures. I want to see. Nope, we haven't broken through. So SPY is moving. SPY is squeezing upwards right now. Big move on big volume. So your first lean would be, it's hard. You got to have 5 minutes of candles. You need 5 minutes of candles. And then I would watch for Model T of the SPY move, but this is obviously racing upwards. So they are buying everything right now. Everything's getting bought. Big push. Here comes. Now let's watch this because SPY just liquidity grabbed off of just prior to this level. So I'm very interested to see. Okay, so far, this is where your first sell came in. We'll have to wait and see. There's a big battle. There's your 800 on the 1 minute sitting right here. Kind of non-coincidence in my mind that you have that 800 as part of this algorithm. Maybe I had pre-market turned on. I think I may have when I did the SPY Model T. I bet it's up here. Yep. Let's just assume, let's be prepared, right? Somewhere in the 592.88 is your pullback. Now, guys, I'm showing you 1 minute chart, right? I have multiple screens. I've got 15 minute, 30 minute, and I use the 4 hour. But obviously that's of no consequence to me right now. So generally I'll toggle that to a 1 hour chart. And then all the other screens are on just specific stocks that I'm watching to see which ones are moving the fastest. So ABBV is your best mover right now. It's green. Also, AWK, that is one of the ones I gave you. I would take a trade above Model T on AWK, okay? Because AWK, in my book, this has gone through a stress test already. It broke outside of the wedge, and it was, you got all kinds of inside-outside bars on this thing. You have this wedge down. I have 124.98 as a trigger on this to the upside. If there was one trade I'm watching that I would take like a 130, either a 130 out to February 14th. Microsoft just triggered back to the above Model T, 414.07. So there's Microsoft, which also has been under stress, right? It had the big sell-off after which is why I bought it, right? It's one of the ones I bought because these stocks have been under stress already. If there was going to be a question of, is this going to lose this huge outside bar to the downside and the bears were going to take control down, wouldn't that have happened in the overnight? Okay. And yet look at it. It's moving up. Okay. And then, BABA. Yeah, BABA. We're looking for 104.41 on BABA. We're still chattering down. I like the looks of this so far, though. And I'll tell you what that looks like. And the good thing about this is you go out far enough, because if it loses the opening low after a move like this, that's your stop. Okay? That becomes your stop. So you're not going to lose that much. The further you go out, the less that the premiums are going to go against you. They move slower. So you could go out to March on a 135 call. It doesn't matter. If this triggers, and I won't SPY above Model T though, when this triggers, if this triggers. Okay. And if not, I want a 15-minute candle, because this could just fail. It could fail. And let's go back to SPY and see if we're right on our Model T. And I would say that we're right on our Model T. Let's go to our ES, and you'll see, oops, excuse me. Just this morning, I'm giving you a lifetime worth of good trading information. You can make a lot of money with what I just gave you in the pre-market to now, to understand the dynamic of what's going on and why is that stock doing that? Why that level, right? You're going to understand. Now, where's Model T of this? Okay. I didn't figure it for here. It's somewhere, not going to be exact. It's somewhere. Okay. We got real close to it. Maybe got it. Now, what happens is you're watching, because if it takes Model T and it clears this area, chances are you get a nice shot for a retest and maybe a breakout move. And this is all just a bunch of scare tactic. I'm going to stop this. I don't want to have multiple hours. I'm going to come right back in.